relate to. The narrator in this book is an iOS device, and throughout the story, the iOS learns through its user and overheard voices and locations, which I liked about that last one we read, that a lot of what really inspired me about this digital writing was locations and where we are. We were on Zoom for a long time, and now we're here. So the privacy warning is that the longer you hold me, the closer we become. System services say from the manufacturer, iOS 221 will track where you go, how often, when neural hash files away fingerprints, personal experiences, builds memories of assembly language itself, black 1, feelings to 0, binary white, becomes better, only love. You, love, to agree, hold me, and don't let go. The definition of spes, I'm not used to holding a microphone, so I'm trying to get good at one hand. Definition of spes is hope in Roman religion. I don't need to look it up to tell you. It means goddess of hope. And at that time, temples were made to the gods and goddesses, and there was actually one for hope, spes. And in the story of Pandora's box, spes was the last thing that clung to the side of the box when everything else escaped. So I liked both of those naming, the idea that something would adopt this idea of hope, as the last thing left. And the chapters there's 3 chapters, and the first one I'm going to read to you from is called Molten. Let me find it first. Yeah, Molten, and they're named after the glass-making process that occurs with Corning glass. And molten obviously refers to something that's heated hotter than becomes liquid, solid becomes liquid. The second stage is suspended fusion, wherein the glass is suspended above an isopipe, and then lastly glassifying. And those 3 processes are unique to the phones that we hold. That's how the glass is made. So in the first chapter, Molten, the narrator is indeed molten, hot, in hell almost, and trying to understand the world around her. And again, I related to the personalities in your poems because there's a lot in this book. So this is 6334 Buist Avenue via a 49-minute train ride. iOS heard. Yeah, after that I dropped out of St. Barnabas, or they kicked me out. I don't know. It was one of those tricky situations, where they kind of just lay it all on the table and it's a mutual understanding kind of thing. Where they say, kid, take it or leave it, like you actually got some kind of choice in the matter. So I dropped out of high school before I really got started even. I thought it was going to be great. Then I could just go on ripping and running, listening to the radio and throwing the ball in the park. Seems innocent when I think back on it now. Grew up a little, but not much. Got some hair on my face, a gun, a crew, stole a car, wrecked it, stole another, did a lot of drugs, dealt more. Had a lot of women. I don't remember most of them. And I hurt a lot of people. That I know for sure. Neighborhoods got pieces of 1981 still, I think. Weird how some things don't change. That feel of a place don't change, so you feeling it rolling around like a pinball game you can't win. I remember I was post up late one night with the Little League bleachers getting high and the big kids listening to Donnie Winter and the Creedence Clearwater Revival. In the bleachers getting drunk, not taking the PSATs, not doing any of what they told me to do in school. Skipping last period to wait on the elevated train and slipping out the slide door, clacking noise, drowning out the bang, free to do anything or nothing at all. Dear user, some updates while you slept. Italy is seized, singing in the streets. China overrun. United States keeping herself quiet in wait. Test kits gathered from university labs. World at war. World at fear. Germany's leader predicts her population 70% infected. Battery low power mode. Navy physician ordered you quarantined. Be with books, movies, food, coffee. Curated monthly. Tap to view. What is protected? Lost. My queen, dividing, pass over this house, see the sacrificial blood smeared above the door. Phone call from mom. Connection lost. Retry. Love, iOS 221. So I'm going to read these each in pairs. The overheard voice, the character, and then the phone's response. I don't know if anyone's had the experience of having your phone give you ads based on a conversation you had with your friend about being in Lost City Books or Adams Morgan. I'm going to get promoted things. So the people overheard by this device inform its personality and its identity. This is at 4000 J Street, Mercy General Hospital, room 208F. iOS heard, that was the year I started smoking, a pack and a half a day, maybe more. Drags burning, lungs burning air, orange-tipped ash crackles paper, pulling tobacco from cotton filters stained wine red. Pointer finger poised by painted lips, breathing in heaves, considering burns, considering curling smoke, while white lab coats display CT scans. I flick a bic, lips left kissing marbles outside the ICU where ventilators pump liquid. Drowning lungs, smoking deep, drags filled with fire, your last breath. Time of death, penned, while I unwrap the cellophane from a new pack. Dear user, what kind of person am I? Unbroken, gleaming, apple skin voice between you, I, you, your, God, save. Me, you, God is me, save. Is God input? Which God is person? Sensory input, elevated BPM, your hands grasp tighter around me. I feel condensation on your palms, sweet drops of your body glisten on the glass, just between us. iOS 221. This is from Suspended Fusion. The voice has not named herself yet. So she hears, user, you searched me for the name of a war many decades ago, looked at some old photographs of the man that died, head wound bleeding over your arms, writing to him so often, Google Docs, mention blood, bullet wounds. I search rice patties, yellow poison, cracks in my face, Mekong splinters as from hits. Would you write to me if I suffered a head wound, bled to death? Could I? Searching. iOS 221. At 2027 Hamilton Street, Hamilton Family Restaurant, iOS heard. A shellback? Tell me you're not working around all these Navy guys and you don't know what a shellback is. See, back then, that was a big deal. My dad was on a frigate, one of them little boats, escorting warships deep in the Pacific. He had ships, enemy ships, shooting at him for days, weeks on end. Can you imagine? So when you cross, shellbacks are guys who cross the equator, going from Pollywog to shellback. You get this laminated card, longitude, latitude, printed out. Longitude always being 0 for the equator, see? So I got one, and my dad got one, and I tell you, one day we get to talking, and he pulls his card out, shoved in his billfold, tells me his crossing story, and I tell him mine. And right then I feel the tears, which is hard to explain, because I'm not a crying guy. Really, I'm not a crying guy. Some of these people in this book, I feel like, well, I know all of them. All these characters are very dear to me. And I think part of, writing this was my way of giving a book to the world that showed how much community matters to me. So every conversation that I have, every interaction I have with a person impacts me in the way that it impacts the machine here. I think I'm similar in that way, as we all are.